With property cooling measures in place, will home buyers hold back on purchases? We'll speak to an expert. From Monday, travellers to Singapore who are staying in hotels will face new rules if they test positive for COVID-19. And Life Picks, one of the most iconic superheroes, is back on the big screen and the reviews are in. You're watching The Big Story with me, Haryanto. Demand subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. In a surprise move late last night, the government announced a series of measures aimed at cooling the private and public housing markets in Singapore. This morning, National Development Minister Desmond Lee explained the reasons for the move.
There is clear upward market momentum in prices and transaction volumes, despite the near-term uncertainty about the COVID-19 situation, including the prospect of the Omicron variant spreading here. If left unchecked, prices are likely to run ahead of economic fundamentals, and this will increase the risk of a destabilizing correction later on that will hurt many households.
From today, additional buyer's stamp duty rates will rise for property purchases. For instance, for Singapore citizens buying their second property, it will go up from 12 to 17% of the property price. There will also be a tightening of the total debt servicing ratio threshold from 60 to 55%, meaning that total monthly loan payments cannot exceed 55% of a person's total gross income. And HDB loans will also be lowered from 90 to 85% of a property's purchase price, meaning that the maximum loan amount HDB will lend to buyers will be 85% of the purchase price. To discuss these measures is Dr. Lee Nai Jia, Deputy Director at NUS's Institute of Real Estate and Urban Studies. Welcome to the show, Dr. Lee. Who will it benefit the most, Doctor, and who stands to lose the most from these measures?
If I look at these measures, it's really trying to prevent people from over-consuming housing and overstretching themselves. So I think the people that stands to lose the most will be those who are looking to buy their second property, to have, to buy a property as an investment asset. But I think it will benefit people who are looking to buy their properties the first time, especially those who are looking to buy their first private residential property. I think those are still not affected by the new measures that much.
Let's dive deeper and tackle the HDB resale market. HDB loans will be lowered from 90% to 85% of a property's purchase price. Now, this doesn't apply to bank loans, where the loan to value limit will remain at 75%. Dr. Lee, so how much will this measure actually put off buyers from purchasing HDB flats at current prices?
I think the interesting part is many buyers may not be very impacted by this latest measure. But what happened is with this new measure, people will be kind of, in terms of their sentiments, will be affected. In terms of the way they approach the housing purchase will be impacted. So many of them may actually take the approach of wait and see attitude. So that may, in the next 2-3 months, we'll see the sales volume going to go down quite a fair bit. But over time, I think it will not really put off buyers that really have a need to buy a HDB flat. But they may not be looking at places in more of the prime areas where the cost is much higher, or they will go for something that is more affordable to their means. So we may see a lot of more activity in the heartlands, like those in the newer estates.
Dr. Lee, these cooling measures are also geared to prioritize genuine owner occupation needs, people who live in the house they buy versus buying property for investment. Whether HDB or private, how will the measures help first-time home buyers?
I think for first-time home buyers, because they do not have, the wealth or the assets in place at the first point in time, so they need to come out with a very large down payment, either through their CPF or cash components. So with these measures, it helped to temper the prices, make it more the increase to make it more aligned with the economic growth. So for the first-time home buyers, they will find that it's more aligned to what they can afford. So I think these measures do help them in this way.
Dr. Lee, it was an hour or so between the announcement and the measures taking effect, giving buyers, sellers, developers and agents little to no time to react. Now, say for example, I'm buying my second or subsequent property and now this hits. What are my options?
I think if we look at the past history of the past announcements, what happened is we see that buyers will flock to the show flats. And I think given the pandemic, this probably is something that the government does not want to see. So that is my speculation, that is why we see the announcement being made kind of in a very close to the midnight. Now, if for people who are looking for second or subsequent property, then the question will be whether a residential property will still make sense, or people should go for other real estate related type of investments. Things like, the REITs, the industrial REITs are doing very well, especially those regarding data centers and logistics properties. So maybe those are more preferable investment vehicles for the investors. Of course, for those who still want to have a second property, they may have to look overseas, where it's more preferable to the buyers to buy.
Dr. Lee, thank you for your perspectives. Dr. Lee Nai Jia from the Institute of Real Estate and Urban Studies at NUS. With demand for public housing expected to stay strong, HDB will be launching 23,000 BTO flats each year over the next 2 years. It will be a 35% jump from the 17,100 BTO flats launched this year. Minister Desmond Lee says the increase in supply will provide more housing options for young couples, as well as for multi-generation families, the elderly and singles. Starting next Monday, December 20th, inbound travellers staying in Singapore hotels and have tested positive for COVID-19 or received a health risk warning should recover or isolate in their rooms by default. Those who test positive will be issued an isolation order which will supersede any testing requirements they may have originally been subject to. For instance, the enhanced testing regime for travellers on the vaccinated travel lane. Fully vaccinated travellers will be issued an IO for 10 days, while those unvaccinated or partially vaccinated will be issued an IO for 14 days. A VTL traveller is among 3 more people who have tested preliminarily positive for the Omicron variant in Singapore. The man tested positive during his supervised antigen rapid test a couple of days after arriving from the US. His PCR test result also came back positive. Since then, his wife has also tested positive. The couple had dined at 4 restaurants in Orchard Road on December 8th and 9th. The third case is a loading cabin assistant at Changi Airport Terminal 3 who had no contact with flight passengers. We've got an action-packed edition of Live Picks for you this week. Does Spider-Man No Way Home live up to the hype? And guess what? Live Christmas concerts are back as well this year. But first, we are nearing the end of the year, and that means lots and lots of weddings. And this year, destination proposals right here in Singapore have also become a trend. Let's find out more. We have travel correspondent Clara Locke. Now she is here to tell us why couples are looking for unique places to pop the question. Why so, Clara?
I think when people look for a place to propose, they want to find something that's meaningful to them and to their journey as a couple thus far. So previously, people used to go abroad because maybe, there's a fairy tale kind of setting that one half of the couple dreams of. But now that most people are still not back to mass traveling yet, they're looking for interesting ways to do this in Singapore. And so one couple has a really sweet story. For instance, they proposed at After Dark Room. And this is a photo studio where you go in and sit for a portrait. And then you get to go into the dark room and watch your photo being developed in front of your eyes. So that's pretty special in itself. But what the girl didn't know was that the guy had arranged with the photo studio so that after they sat for a portrait, she went into the dark room and she thought they were going to see their own photo appear. But instead, the photo studio swapped out the photo, and what she saw was a picture of the guy holding a sign that said, "Will you marry me?" And this was really sweet because for them, film photography was a big part of their journey as a couple, especially when they were in university, and he was the one who taught her how to develop photos, and they went around snapping photos, and that was just a special memory they share. And so I think when people look for ways to propose in Singapore, they're trying to find these unique little moments to show that, this is something special to us, and this is something that will be the first step in the next chapter of our lives together.
Thank you, Clara. Travel correspondent Clara Locke. And just in time for the holidays, another action-packed Marvel blockbuster is out in the cinemas right now. Film correspondent John Lui is here to share with us more on it. John, does Spider-Man No Way Home live up to the hype? No spoilers, or at least try to, avoid the spoilers for us.
Okay, no spoilers. There was a lot of hype, I think mainly because this was much anticipated. It's coming out during the Christmas season, and it's the last Marvel movie of the year. And it's a film that sort of meets your expectations if you're a fan. But if you're not watching Disney Plus, if you're not watching Loki, if you're not watching the other stuff, Marvel-related stuff maybe on Netflix, you might be looking around you and going, why are people so excited? But it does take care of the fans very much. A bit too much in my opinion. I don't mind fan service. Fan service has a function, has a purpose. But that's got to be balanced with opening a new chapter, fresh storytelling. And I felt it didn't really do anything for me as far as opening new chapters, telling a fresh story. It was just a trip down memory lane. Hey, do you remember this person? Do you remember that person? It was 2 hours of that. But I can accept that a lot of people do like it, and the people in the cinema that I was in seem to be having fun.
Phew, fortunately, no spoilers from John, and that was film correspondent John Lui. Last but not least, live Christmas concerts are back this year, and there are some really good ones to look out for. Music correspondent Dino Abdul Hadi is here to tell us more. Dino, tell us, what are the local musicians up to for this Christmas?
Yes, like you mentioned, so Christmas concerts are back this year. And I don't just mean online as live stream shows, like most of them were last year in 2020. So in the next 1 week or so, there will be at least 3 Christmas concerts that you can buy tickets to and attend, and watch the musicians and singers perform live right in front of you. And first up, we have jazz veteran Jeremy Montero. He will stage his normally annual Jazzy Christmas concert at the Esplanade Concert Hall this Saturday on December 18th. So he didn't have the concert last year, so it's a welcome return. And overall, this will be his 15th Jazzy Christmas concert in 19 years. So he's been doing this for a while. And when I asked him about the show, he tells me that he has gathered together what he considers to be some key members of the Singapore jazz family who will be up on stage with him. And this includes veteran singers like Jacinta, as well as new singers, rising names such as Sarah Chu and Siti Nur Iman. And the second concert is a show by singer-composer Dick Lee. We all know Dick. And he will put on his first Christmas concert in 2 decades. And this will take place at the Marina Bay Sands Theatre on December 22 and 23. I asked him about the concert as well, and he says that it will be a traditional Christmas show of everyone's favorite Christmas songs with some fun interpretations. He will have a big band and some wonderful guest performers. He's not going to say who they are. I think it's going to be a surprise for those people who are going there. And finally, the third concert, it's happening on Christmas Day itself, December 25th. And again, Jacinta, who's also performing at Jeremy's concert. This time, it will be just her and her fellow singer Robert Fernando. And their show takes place, as mentioned, on Christmas Day itself at the Esplanade Recital Studio. And she says that the show will comprise all the favorite Christmas tunes. They'll be jazzed up. She feels that it's a very personal show for her. She says that it's a tribute to her friends who are breaking with tradition. So instead of spending Christmas night with their families, they're coming down to the Esplanade to watch her concert.
Thank you for your recommendations, Dino. That was music correspondent Dino Abdul Hadi. And here's a great one for music fans by Dino. There is a Singaporean connection in Snoop Dogg's new album, The Algorithm. Read all about it in the Straits Times live section and at str.sg/live. And those are top stories for today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. See you tomorrow on The Big Story.